Your car in the driveway, that look on your face. I can see the tears well up by the way.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Two Beers with the Band. I'm your host, Chris Schramm, and today I'm sitting down with Miss Winter Wilson. She is a Nashville-based singer, songwriter, musician, and all-around cool person. So, Winter, why don't you give us a quick introduction and tell us about the beer you brought, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
we'll go from there.
Perfect. I love being introduced as an all-around cool person. They don't do that at my shows. So, my name is Winter Wilson. I'm a like you said, Nashville-based singer-songwriter. Actually Nashville-born, although I didn't grow up here. I moved away when I was like 3, so but we visited a lot, and it feels really good to be back. But yeah, I've been a musician all my life and got into singing and songwriting, and it was only in the last couple of years that I decided it's time to move to Nashville and give it a shot. So I've been here for about 2.5, almost 3 years now. And yeah, it's been awesome. I do a lot of, writing, getting things produced, and I just launched a pop project as well. So I got my first song out and more to come, hopefully soon.
Okay, well, let's pour a beer and let's talk about the new project.
Yeah. Okay, so I got to introduce this, right? I got to tell us about, I brought a non-alcoholic beer, which is probably a bad thing to bring to a beer show.
No,
but
no.
I just finished, I was telling you earlier, I finished a 4-hour bike ride this morning for my Ironman training. And so I've been kind of in the pain cave doing all sorts of working out and training and stuff. So I brought the Athletic Brewing Company, which is a pretty well-known brand of NA beer that is for athletes. So I figured it'd be a good end to the day.
All right, well, let's get it in a glass.
Yeah. All right. They do a pretty good job at an IPA for something that's not alcoholic.
I would have never reached for this, honestly. Yeah. Well, I'll say never because my neighbor, he for a little while went on a non-alcohol kick.
Yeah.
And this had just come out and he started drinking it. I tried it one night and honestly, I was not impressed. But like with all other beers, especially something new, the more I drink it, the more I start respecting the work they're doing. And the more now I kind of know what to expect when I drink this. So I feel a little bit better about it. Initially, when I poured it in a glass and I looked at it and I was like, this is not going to be good. And that's not fair to go ahead and label a beer before you even get into it. So I already had it in my head. I'm not going to like this. But the more these interviews I do, people bring these beers in, or they'll bring in, what is that other style? Of course, I can't think of it right now.
Every brand's coming out with an NA version of their beer now. It's crazy.
And I haven't tried all of them yet, but the more of these shows I do, I think I'm going to actually maybe try to introduce them into the show.
Yeah.
Just just for me. I mean, or I might bring a couple of different ones and bring one of those just for me to have either before or after the show, just to try it, because
get used to it.
Beer has taken on, beer has become a monster and gone so many different directions that it's just, you can do anything with beer right now. So, all right, well, let's take a sniff and tell me what you get off this one.
If my hands are shaking, it's because I think I ruined a nerve, or like pinched my nerve in my hand today.
Is your finger tingling?
Yeah, I can't even.
So it's going to be your little finger, half of your ring finger, and then all that right through.
That's all of it.
I know the feeling, and that's so. Pins and needles. Yeah. Your hand's going to shake, and then it's going to be sore tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
I have no doubt. It smells like an IPA, which is.
It smells like a juicy IPA. There's a pretty heavy citrus note.
Yeah, I get that.
Kind of a orange peel. That's what I'm getting. Maybe a little pineapple.
Oh man, you got this nailed down. Yeah.
I'm not getting a lot of malt out of it. What?
I always wish I took one of those like wine tasting classes or beer tasting classes where they teach you how to like sniff alcohol the right way.
Well, you can train yourself to do it.
Yeah.
But if you pay for a class, they can give you all the secrets and
Right. Make you sound fancy. Like
make you sound fancy. Yeah. I guess that's all that matters, really.
Right. If someone told me a certain wine had undertones or whatever of XYZ and they were confident about them, I would believe them. I think just like with the confidence.
The thing about your palate is you may not pick up, say, stone fruit, which will be kind of heavy in certain wines, where my palate, because I've trained it to look for things, I'll pick that up. Or there might be something I just can't put my finger on. And somebody says, stone fruit or blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's it. Stone fruit is what something else was masking it.
Yeah.
But what I couldn't put my finger on, okay. Uh-huh. And then for example, I might pick up on some cherry notes, some black cherry notes in a wine, and you wouldn't. But, and I can tell you it is there. It is there. And you're like, no, it's not. Well, your palate, you're picking up something else.
Yeah.
And maybe you're picking up something I'm not, because my palate's not that refined. But I am learning and I'm teaching myself and I'm respecting the bourbon, the beer, the wine that I drink.
This is good practice. Yeah.
It opens up, a whole new world. At least for me, it does.
Amazing. Okay.
All right, let's take a sip. See what we get.
Shaky hands. Doesn't have a lot of flavor to it. The IPA is definitely there, but they do a good job for what it is.
There's a hoppiness that it is overwhelming. Yeah. And it's not, it overwhelms the citrus notes.
Yeah.
I'm getting that real kind of grassy, dark green, for lack of a better term, note. And that's really, really prevalent. The citrus is kind of mid palate, but very light. That almost herbal. I'm getting a little bit of herbal on it. And that's real strong, at least for me.
That part's strong. I feel like IPAs usually have a little bit more they're a little bit more robust, and this feels. But I bet they went through so much testing to figure out which athletes like what, and maybe this was what they landed on.
Well, the alcohol actually gives the roundness to a beer, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So there's no alcohol in here, so you're not going to get that robustness or the roundness, but because the beer just can't deliver without the alcohol. So, but I mean, we can run through it, and then after we do that, we can hit this one right here and go from there.
Amazing.
All right. So let's talk about your music, and let's talk about your Ironman training.
The Ironman training is one of those things that I decided my knees are going and I'm young and it's time to both fit in a marathon and a full Ironman into the same race in case my joints don't work after it. So I've been able to say that like I've done a marathon and I've done an Ironman.
Right.
I've always been a long distance athlete, but that was kind of the goal. And I just love triathlons. So it's been fun, but yeah, definitely. It's my break from all of the work surrounding it. So music has been, it's crazy to turn something that you love so much into work, I think.
Yeah.
And I've been learning how to do that and how to balance those things over the past 2.5 years. But my music, I've been a musician since I was born. My parents would tell me stories about them like putting the headphones over my mom's stomach while she was pregnant and playing me like, Miles Davis and Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin, things like that. And I grew up with 2 musical parents, so I got lucky on that front. They chose a good stage name for me right off the bat. And my parents put me into classical music training for 11 years. I was a pianist. So that was kind of my intro into things. And I have a whole story about what got me specifically into songwriting, but it was around middle school that I bought my first guitar. I like handed the piggy bank over the counter and just started writing. And it was one of the most rewarding things I think I found in my day-to-day, and it really stuck with me. So it wasn't until I was up in Connecticut doing graduate school and it was middle of COVID and it was like, there is more to life than just my day job is in technology and startups and climate. So it's completely different. But I wanted to make sure I was honoring the creative side of my life. And from that point, I said, you know what? I'm young. I don't have a whole lot of things that are tying me to any place. Let's move to Nashville. Let's see how it goes. Give it a couple of years and give it a shot. Be a songwriter, be an artist. It has been, Nashville is such a wonderful community. Not to say that there aren't challenges being here, but overall, I've really loved not only getting to pursue that side of my life, but just connecting with the crazy amount of talent that's around me here. Yeah. So I've released 1 song so far. I have a second one coming, and then I also have a small pop project on the side that I'm doing some pop music.
Well, tell me about the songs on your YouTube channel.
Yeah. That's a good question. I need to update that. So I have music everywhere. You can find me Winter Wilson Music. It's one of those 2. Winter Wilson on Instagram. I think YouTube is Winter Wilson Music. But YouTube was one of the things I started out with. That's one of the social media channels I definitely need to pick up more on and do more with. But I think right now there are some covers, some songs that I've written with some co-writers of mine. A lot of it's from before I moved to Nashville. Mm-hmm. Now I've been really focused on, I've done a lot of TikTok and a lot of Instagram. And that seems to be where most of my audience comes from. But mm-hmm. I mean, after talking to you, I feel like maybe YouTube is the next thing for me to really dive into and invest some time in.
I think you should give all social platforms equal amount of time.
Yeah.
I think. And if you're picking up new listeners, new subscribers, new followers on TikTok and Instagram, I know it almost seems like, let me focus more there because that's where the reach is coming from.
Yeah.
Well, if you gave YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram all equal amount of time, you never know. One of those channels just may one day just up and explode.
Yeah, I mean, the landscape of social media is changing so rapidly. I do marketing my day job as part of it, and even just trying to keep up with what social media is out there is difficult. Like, there's new stuff, blue sky. I mean, Twitter's always been a hit or miss. And
Yeah.
like all of that, it's changing so rapidly. But I agree. I think it's hard as an independent artist to keep all of your social channels up and running. And give them the investment that they need to be able to pick you up with their algorithms. But it's something I'm slowly learning to balance.
Well, that can be a full-time job in and of itself.
Oh, yeah.
Just writing, creating music, and then keeping up with social media. That can be a full day of work every day. Oh, yeah. Especially if that writing bug just hits you and you're just sitting down and cranking stuff out.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I've been sitting here 2 hours. Mm-hmm. Now I got to go do this and I'm behind on that. And then you having a full-time job on top of that.
Yeah.
And then the training on top of that. And I'm sure you've adjusted your meals and just, man, you're busy. You got to be busy right now.
Unfortunately, that's been a trend most of my life. I love it. I love being able, I have so many things I'm excited about, and I feel very lucky to be excited about so many things. It's definitely, there is so much merit and so much to say for folks who are very, very focused on one thing. But I think my desire to have a lot of different experiences and, pursue a lot of things that I'm excited about and passionate about. I get to travel through my, startup tech work. I love traveling in general. I mean, I think all of those experiences do add to my music and to the depth of the lyrics that I'm able to write. Yeah. So I've learned to respect that for what it is and know that it will be difficult balancing that because social media is a full-time job in itself. People hire social media managers for that reason.
Yeah.
But I'm learning kind of, I'm trying to give space to everything else in my life and see the ways that those things inform what I write. Yeah.
So out of everything you're doing, would you say writing and music is number one?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, writing and music has been the one thing that is closest to my, the fibers of who I am. I feel like I couldn't possibly comprehend how people don't cherish music in their life or don't have that, desire to create with music. That's just not, it's been so integral to my personal development and, to what I love to do that I couldn't imagine a life without it. So in that way, yes, absolutely. I love everything else I do. I don't want to discredit those things. I'm very passionate about my work and I'm lucky for that. But music is definitely giving music a chance and coming to Nashville. It validated such a deep, important part of me that I feel like I had neglected for a while. It's definitely the thing I hold closest to my heart.
Well, you say you've been in Nashville for, let's say, 2.5 years, and you just decided you were going to pick up and move to Nashville and pursue music.
Yeah.
And there are so many people that do that. And there are so many people who are thinking about doing that. And you're a success story in that. You've been able, you've been here 2.5 years. You're still passionate about music. You have a full-time job. I'm assuming you found community in Nashville. Yeah. So you're a success for 2.5 years, at least. Yeah. And it's, speaking of community, what genre of music do you play?
I love and hate that question. The best way. Yeah.
And most artists do, because if I ask you what genre, you have to put your music in a box.
Right.
And if you put your music in a box, it almost feels like you're stifling your creativity.
I mean, there's something to say for traditions of different types of music and genres. I always say to that question, I'm a storyteller and a lyrics first artist. I love the songwriting part of it. I definitely fit more into, say, like, singer-songwriter genre, which is definitely a thing now, I think, more so. And then I say, like, indie folk pop, like that, a combination of those things. Some people have told me some of my songs border on country, so I can write just about anything. But my personal artist project is definitely more along the lines of story driven, like acoustic, melodic stuff. Yeah.
Well, you were referring to a pop project earlier.
Yeah.
Who put that project in the pop box?
I had a good buddy of mine, Kipper Gray, and I started this project, and I'm taking it, and we started it because he's a pop producer, and I was really excited about writing music outside of my kind of typical music. Yeah. And I found that, like, it's the same with any genre. I can write a country song and I can write it pretty quickly, and it's not a bad country song. I have a hard time saying it's a good country song, but I should be more confident about that. With this pop stuff, it was like, I'm going to write pop music. Like, it was the goal almost to put it into that box. Not to say it doesn't, tap on other boxes and other genres. But it is very, like, poppy, that kind of vibe. It's called Spacey. So, hey Spacey on Instagram, TikTok, anywhere you stream music. Spotify is going to be Spacey.
Spell it.
Spacy. That's a good question, because there are a couple spellings. There's more out of have like attention deficits and a hard time paying attention, so we named it Spacey. But I've been running with that project now, and my goal of it is to kind of pull in other producers and other pop artists and kind of do collaborations. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
So have you found community in Nashville for your pop projects?
It's brand new. So I just released the first song called So Hard. That came out in like a couple weeks ago. So it's brand new. I'm kind of looking for opportunities to, get it out there, find placements for it, maybe. It was more just like having fun with it. It's like roll your windows down, listen to it in the car on a summer day music. And so it departs a lot from my personal artist music that is much more deep and kind of like the sad girl lyrics of heartbreak and growth and personal development. It departs from that, but it's still, I'm honoring it as a different type of creativity, but it's still a creative process. It's something that was just a blast to do.
Well, do you think maybe this new project is maybe you moving on to the next step in your life? Because so far you've been nothing but smiles since you've sat down. Yeah. So if you told me, I write sad girl music, and just kind of left it at that, I would be.
I should be more moody in the podcast space.
Well, don't throw anything at me because there's really not a whole lot of room. But I mean, you seem upbeat, you seem happy, you're smiling. So when you say it's more away from the sad girl music, do you think maybe you're just turning a page in your life and now you're leaning more towards the happy, the vibrant, the sunshine?
That's a good question. Honestly, I love my life. I'm just kind of like a grateful person in that regard. But I've had a complicated relationship with my self-esteem and my confidence and who I am in romantic relationships and how I find self-worth. So, I think the pop project is there for that outlet of just having fun. But honestly, I mean, the focus of my life in music more so is that personal artist development. And those are things, I am very happy. I'm very excited and exuberant, I guess. But music has allowed me, sometimes I think that excitedness and that positivity, I try not to be toxically positive and act like everything is great all the time, because it isn't. But, music has definitely allowed me space to be more vulnerable about the difficult parts of my life. Things that I don't feel like I can just share to someone about, what I went through in a relationship, or, what I have gone through in terms of valuing myself, or, I've written songs about other things as well. And so that side is why my personal artist stuff is more lyrically driven, more storytelling. I mean, that's the stuff that really is sharing a vulnerability. And that, that's why it's much more me, I think.
Well, do you think your songwriting is a true reflection of you and of your mental health?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think songwriting is cathartic to me. I think it's a form of therapy. So it's a reflection of the moments that I've really struggled processing the difficult parts of life.
Right.
That's definitely short. So I have a new boyfriend, or not new, it's been a year and a half, and he's just a dream. I had been in a number of very difficult relationships prior to that, where I was struggling with knowing my self-worth and the things I needed to leave. And that's where a lot of the songs came out of. And it's funny now that he's so wonderful that I'm so happy in this relationship, that finding those like sad, moody, deep moments, it's funny. I'll joke with him. I'm like, okay, you got to break up with me this week so I can write a couple really good songs and we'll get back together after that. But I think it also unlocked a new level of, or a new avenue for songs that are happier. I am writing songs that are more about what it means to accept good things. It's a layer that I had not experienced or been as exposed to before.
Well, how many unfinished songs do you think you have?
Oh my gosh, too many. I don't even think I could count, because there's also the times my phone auto formatted and I lost a bunch of songs. But I had, I have notebooks everywhere, songs I've written with other people, songs I got voice notes, especially the funny ones at like 4 a.m. where you like have kind of gone, kind of woken up, and then a really good idea comes to you and you open your app and you sing it into the app, and the next morning you can't even understand what you were saying.
Right.
But I have too many. But that's what you got to do. You got to write a lot because there's going to be gold in there, but it's not going to be every time. Not at all.
Well, do you ever experience writer's block?
Yeah, of course. I think it's impossible not to. It used to be when I was just like, oh, I'm having a great week, a great month, and I'm just getting out of the house more and I'm not writing as much, or I don't feel like I'm having those sad moments where I need to process things. Now I'm learning to write happier songs, and that's difficult too. But yeah, I mean, writer's block is unavoidable. It's, I've been there a lot.
Well, how do you deal with it specifically when you tell yourself, okay, it's writer's block moment. It's not just I can't come up with something right now. It is just shut down. So
Yeah.
how do you reset?
That's a good question. I mean, I've learned there are lots of strategies for, doing, practicing in ways that gives you more an ability to tap into that creativity in a moment or an instant, and quickly. But I don't know, for me, sometimes it just takes writing bad music or whatever, like trying something different. I'm also a big proponent. Well, first I will say, for anyone who's trying to be an artist, trying to move to Nashville, it's like you write a million terrible things and like a couple of those turn into songs, and then a couple of those songs turn into things you play on stage, and then a couple of those turn into the things you produce, at least in my experience. So there's a whole lot of failure before you get to anything good. But my other strategy is just having new experiences, like finding new things to do, whether it's in Nashville or traveling or work or, whatnot, trying something that gets you out of your comfort zone. If you've never done pottery classes, go take a pottery class, go listen to good music from other bands you might never have heard. Those are some of my favorite ways to get over writer's block.
Well, speaking of bands that you've never heard or people outside Nashville have never heard, what bands would you want to go see? As far as indie bands, what bands would you want to go see that might have a touch of influence in
my work?
Well, not necessarily over your work, but maybe just have a little bit of influence somewhere, in your creative process.
Yeah. I think I just love listening to new music, to people who are excited about new things. Like I walk into any place in Nashville.
Yeah.
It's like these artists who you've never heard of, but are so incredible. It's amazing to be here. But I get a lot of inspiration from, songwriters like the Donovan Woods of the world. He's an artist that I actually have seen before. And people are generally pretty familiar with him. He's not super, super famous, but he has a decent amount of notoriety and has written for some really, really famous people. People like him or Laurie McKenna. And I think those, I'll go to a show and the storytelling in the songs hit so deep,
right,
with my kind of emotional state that does definitely influence the way I think about writing. But the people around me do too. Like I have some just fantastic artists in my life. And if I start saying names, I'm going to have to say all of them. So.
Oh, okay. I got you.
But yeah.
Well, and circling back to what you said about writers, there's so many venues around Nashville where pretty much the entire entertainment for a weekend will be nothing but writers getting up on stage.
Oh, yeah.
And them, a guitar, maybe them and a couple of other musicians, or even a full band. And it's people that write music for everyone in all different genres, but they never actually sing or produce the music for themselves. But when you hear that writer sing the song that they wrote, it seems to hit a little different than when you hear that mainstream artist sing it. Yeah. And they put more emphasis on the part that they're really trying to drive home and the part that they really want the consumer to just hear and feel. And that can change. That can change, at least for me as a consumer, that can change my view of that song.
Oh, yeah.
In an instant.
I love that. And it's something whenever people visit and they're like, what should I do outside of Broadway? Like, walk into any of these places and someone's going to have written for all of your favorite country artists or, you know, indie artists or whatnot. Someone's written a song for them. You know, like, I'll sit next to people who are like, I wrote this with Lainey Wilson today, or, you know, some big name. But then hearing it, like you said, hearing it from them and getting to hear where those actual emotions came from, I think it's just so special. And I've heard songs that I then go and listen to the produced version by another artist, and it's good. It's great for another reason, but it does. You can really tell how much things being personal matters in a song. And having that connection can change how you communicate what you're trying to say through music. So that's what I always say to people. I say, just go in anywhere. You're going to find great music, and you're going to find the people who have written that great music. Share it with you. And yeah, I feel lucky every day I get to spend in Nashville. It's pretty awesome.
Do you feel like your fans out in the crowd feel the emotion in your songs when you sing them? Do you feel like what you're trying to say to the audience is translated?
First of all, if you call yourself a fan, that means the most to me. If there's even one person out there who says that, that's amazing. It's very cool to think about. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the reason people listen to my music. I would say, you know, even having people reach out to me or at a show, seeing the emotional responses on people's faces. I've had a couple of friends cry when they listen to the music and they're going through something and I've sang something that resonates with them. I think that's the whole point of why I love music. It is building community. It's sharing a personal story, but tapping into a universal experience. And, you know, to be able to share an emotion that resonates with someone and they find some level of comfort, I guess, in that shared experience. I do think that's why people listen to my music. And that's always been really special to me. It's just, you know, people reach out and say, oh my gosh, this is a song I needed to hear at the right time and like in my life. And thanks for writing that, or thanks for sharing it. That's really special to me. I think that's where that connection comes in.
Well, the music that I've heard from you is easy to listen to. I don't have to really concentrate, or I don't have to play a song over and over and over to try to find, what is she saying? Well, this right here, what does this mean? Everything seems to create the music video in my head of the song. And my mind works in pictures. Mm-hmm. So when I hear a song or I read a book, I've created the story in my head. And I love songs that tell stories. Yeah. Because that in my head, it's real easy to make that music video.
Yeah.
And I'm going to enjoy that song that much more.
Yeah.
And then maybe later on down the line, I actually look that song up on YouTube or on, these other forms of media to try to find the video. It's like, okay, if I was producing the video, I know what I would do. So let's see what the real producers do.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy music videos that follow the song. Yeah. I'm not necessarily saying exactly, but the main theme of the video is the main theme of the song. It's not just some kind of crazy little mini movie over here and we're just going to throw the song on top of it and you're going to like it. No, I'm not going to like it, but your music makes it easy for me to produce that video in my head. And I appreciate that because there are a lot of people out there, a lot of great writers, and man, they write some just, if they put pen to paper, it's gold. Yeah. But I just don't get some of it. And if I have a hard time trying to make that song make sense, I'm just going to brush it over here and move on to something else.
Yeah, and some people love the kind of music that speaks in metaphors and has very deep meanings and all of that. My dad was a songwriter. That's why I was born in Nashville. He's not anymore. I never quite worked out in the way he had hoped for, but he did well when he was here. But the piece of advice he always gave me was you don't need to try to come up with these obtuse ideas and concepts. It's write what you know, write what you're say what you're trying to say when you write music. You don't need to have people try to interpret it. You can just say what you want to say sometimes. And that sometimes there are spaces where metaphors are great and these deeper layered things are wonderful. But sometimes saying what you need to say very directly is the best line you could write. And that has stuck with me of telling stories, really talking about those details of those moments and trying to build out those pictures and those mental videos you're talking about. And not trying to get too fancy when I don't need to. Because something about describing those moments evokes those feelings and allows people to tap into that with you. And I think that, to me, is what I love about songwriting and about the songwriters I look up to. And, I try to emulate.
So when you write a song, and of course you play either the guitar or the piano while you write the song, are you writing the song for the instruments, or are you writing the song for the words?
Yeah.
I mean, when you produce, what am I trying to say? When you finish a song and it is done completely, produced out in the world, do you want that song to focus more on the music or the lyrics, or maybe a combination of the two?
Yeah, people always ask lyrics first or music first. To me, they come from both directions. I'll be playing piano and come up with a melody and then write lyrics to that, or I'll be playing chords on the guitar I love, or I will think about a line randomly at the grocery store, or think about a story I want to tell and then add music to that. So both ways. Because of how many instruments I played growing up, I also played trombone. I will never bring that out in a Nashville setting. I'm not very good at it. I played trombone until I was about as tall as the trombone, and then gave that up. But it's one of those things where because of the amount of music that I did play growing up and I had exposure to, the sounds and the music really does matter to me, even though I want people to be able to focus on the lyrics and the storytelling. I have a great producer right now, Tyler Sky, and one of the things I loved about when we sat down for our first session was he's like, yeah, like let's, we want your lyrics and your voice and this storytelling to be first and foremost, and knowing that, let's figure out what your sound is like around that. Like, how do you accent that the right way without overpowering it? So it's been a lot of fun to build out what that music looks like. I have a great guitarist as well, Margot Beaver, and she's been fantastic in writing guitar pieces that complement my voice too, or my lyrics. So it's lyrically driven, but it doesn't mean you have to neglect the rest of it. Yeah.
So is the production process difficult when you're working with someone that might approach your song a little bit differently than you think they should?
I got lucky. My production experience has been so wonderful. I mean, my current producer, Tyler, is so good at asking questions about trying to understand what I'm looking for. And he brings the audio, it's engineering, audio engineering. Like these are very technical skills. So for me, it's like, I want this to sound sparkly. And then he's able to translate that into whatever it looks like in that song. So I've never felt like he pulls the song in any direction that doesn't make sense or that I wouldn't want for the song. Instead, like his ability to help create those kind of soundscapes or those melodic moments or harmonies or whatever, it's much more of a superpower that is complementary to what I want to do rather than something that takes away from it.
So it's not difficult when you take a song in that maybe you're not sure about because you have faith that he's going to be able to make it work.
Yeah.
Where you don't overthink every single song that you bring to the table.
That is another thing. I am a big overthinker and a big perfectionist. So I had to learn a big lesson in letting things go when it's time to let them go. I will nitpick down to the very last thing, down to the very last minute. But I got the advice that when it's 80% done, it's probably 100% done. So you don't need to go so far into it that you are, it's like when you reread a paper that you wrote. Yeah. At some point, it's just like there's nothing else you can do that's going to really change it. And so it's time to let it go. Like, it's time to turn that in. Like, the music is so much better when it's out there for people to hear it. So, like, if you're going to nitpick it to whatever your standard of perfection is, which is impossible to get to anyway, like, no one's going to hear it. And it's better to have that music shared. I'm excited. I love the songs I've put out. I think that's a good standard for when they're ready. Are there things that after they're released, I'm like, oh, what if I had done that? Of course. But then, I wouldn't have released it if I had worried too much about that. You got to let things go. Both things that you produce, things that you co-write even, like learning to let go of ideas and give it to other people, and learning to, maybe there's a song that you wrote that, you got one verse that's amazing, but you just can't figure out the rest of the song. It's like, you don't have to be so precious with everything. That's been a hard lesson for me to learn, but a good one.
Do you think being a perfectionist is why you have so many unfinished songs?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that also comes from just my level of excitement about certain things. Like I'll get really, songwriting is a iterative learning process. So you get better the more you do it.
Right.
And
just
so,
like anything else.
Yeah, right. And as you probably know, like the artists, and I'm sure a lot of other folks have said, like you kind of have to make sure you don't keep songwriting sometimes when you're producing, so you don't feel like the song that you're producing is like not something you're excited about anymore. I don't really abide by that rule, but I do. There's a period of time that a song can sit for me before I feel like I've written something better. And I think that's part of it. It's like I'll write something, but then I'll write something the next day I'm more excited about. So that's probably why there are more half-written songs. Not to say they won't ever turn into anything. I'm always open to going back to old music. But yeah, my perfectionism, I think, comes into feeling like things are up to standard to produce, to play out, to release. That's, I think, where it sits the most.
So do you think the more you're with this producer, the more you're with other people who have influence over the final product, do you think you'll give yourself more grace when it comes to songwriting? Because in the back of your mind, you know, okay, if I can't figure this out, they can figure it out and make it work. So I'm going to go with it instead of saying, well, because I can't figure this out, I'm just going to take this song and put it over here and maybe one day it'll come to me. Yeah,
I mean, I think that's why it's so important to have the right team. You know, I found the right producer for me. And so I really trust that process and the ability of us to bring a song that I've held on to for so long and I'm so ready for it to be released. It's about letting it go in the studio too, like giving trust to that other person and knowing that they're going to be able to help you bring it to life in the way that you're aiming to bring it to life. So that has definitely helped, knowing that there are people who know this stuff way better than I do, who can help be there. And it's the same thing in like when you're co-writing with someone and you're like, I have this idea, I love this idea, but I don't want to bring this idea to the table. Well, it's like, maybe that idea is never going to see the light of day. You got to trust that, like, you're writing with someone, they're going to have a new perspective on whatever it is you bring to the table. And whether or not that song is something you want to release, it's a moment that you've learned how other people think about songwriting, and you can kind of take away from that. So I think all of these experiences and opening up and being less precious and trusting the world around you, it's like those moments help you become a better writer, better artist, better producer, better, whatever. I feel like that's a huge lesson I've learned in Nashville as well. It's just, being open to ideas that are not mine. Like, I mean, that sounds, that sounds bad.
Well, would you, in a way, call it constructive criticism?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's definitely one way. I think any kind of collaborative process, you're trying to do, it's like nice constructive criticism back and forth. But it's some of that, but it's also the yes and piece of like, give yourself time and co-writes to say yes and, like, take their idea, say yes, and we can do this with it too. Instead of, having that tension that like, no, I don't think that's very good, which some of that is good, but giving things a chance to breathe a little bit and finding ways to collaborate it just leads to so much more creativity and good ideas that you would have never thought of. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm ready to jump into this second beer, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I brought Hop Perfect IPA from Yazoo Brewing here in Nashville. And I've had this beer I've had this beer several times.
Okay.
And
I'm excited.
I enjoy it. I know you said you liked IPAs, so I thought, why not?
Yeah. I'm not a huge beer drinker, but when I drink beer, I want it to taste like beer, and I feel like IPA is that direction.
You know, and just a little side note, growing up, and this is somewhat off topic, growing up, girls didn't drink beer when I was younger. And I mean, the thought of girls drinking beer, they wouldn't even give it a chance. They
Where'd
would
you
smell
grow
it.
up?
Nashville.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
And
Okay.
yeah, I'm born and raised here.
Amazing. Okay.
They would smell that. Oh, that's awful. That's awful. And granted, a lot of the beer back then, it wasn't great. But at the same time, it's so refreshing now to be able to talk beer with a mixed group of people.
Yeah, we're
And
drinkers.
you know, so many women out there they know what they like when it comes to beers, and women drinking your heavier beers, your real robust IPAs, and enjoying it.
Yeah.
For me is refreshing because, you know, if I was hit up the group, I'm like, guys, I'd just like to maybe sit down and have some beers tonight. You can already, the text messages from all the girls be like, well, we appreciate it, but we're going to go do this. Because they just didn't like beer.
I grew up in southeastern Ohio, Athens, Ohio, and I wish I could find their beer here. They need to expand. Any Nashville places need to bring in Jackie O's Brewery. Great brewery. Jackie O's has just so much good beer. And they would do, there was a happy hour, power hour, where beers were $2, and these are craft beers.
Yeah.
So in college, we would all go for power hour.
Oh, yeah.
And beer was amazing. I mean, like, so much good craft stuff. It's made right there. Everyone's excited about it in the community. And all different types of beer too. So we had our favorites, and they've expanded through Ohio. I'm not sure if they're out of state yet. But no, I grew up with Jackie O's in town and lots of amazing breweries in Athens, despite it being this little tiny college town in the middle of Ohio.
Right. All right. Well, let's take a sniff and see what we get off this one. What are you getting?
This is what probably the Athletic Brewing Company would have smelled like with the alcohol in it. Citrus, probably.
Yeah, I'm getting a citrus note, but I'm getting a little more caramel in this one than in the last one.
Interesting.
Well, I'm getting maybe a toffee, a little light toffee, or a little light caramel. But I'm getting a citrus note as well, and I'm getting just a very, very light spice note.
Okay.
A very light spice note.
Man, I wish I was good at this stuff. I need to go take some classes.
I'll just
It smells good though.
Subscribe to Two Beers with the Band on YouTube.
Right. I should reiterate some of those.
I'll teach you how to enjoy beer more.
Yeah. Perfect. It's a good pitch.
All right. So let's take a sip, see what we get.
That's good.
That is good.
Yeah.
That is good. Man, this beer is just good. It has never let me down.
Yeah, I always love those local breweries. They're good at what they do.
Well, this beer has the body and the roundness that the Athletic beer doesn't.
Yeah, it definitely sits in your mouth differently.
Yeah, yeah. And I am getting the light spice notes. Of course, this beer's been out of the fridge for a while, so the taste profile is going to change compared to when it's, just straight out of the fridge, straight in even a frosty mug, and that's how you're sipping it. When the beer warms up, the taste profile is going to change.
Okay.
And actually, the longer the beer sits in this glass, certain notes are going to become more present or more prevalent. I'm sorry. Kind of like wine.
Yeah.
With wine, after wine aerates, it really changes. And if you drink, if you fill up a wine glass and just sip on it, it's going to, at least for me, the flavor profile changes from top to bottom. And I really enjoy that about wine, good craft beer.
Yeah.
And, bourbon doesn't change much.
Yeah.
Bourbon's kind of it's what it is all the way down. But wine and good craft beer.
Do you have a favorite type of beer?
I'm a seasonal beer drinker. I drink lighter beers in the spring and early summer. I'll do more of your pilsners, kind of your German pilsners in the heart of summer, and your IPAs, both East and West Coast IPAs. And then as it starts getting cooler, I'll start heading more towards your stouts. And right about when it really gets cold in Nashville, which is going to be about 40 degrees for me, just too cold at that point. I actually like barrel-aged beers.
Okay, yeah.
The only problem is they always come in big bottles, and they're about 14%. And they are fantastic beers, but it's like,
it's a lot.
I don't want to drink this whole bottle, but I have to.
Right, you can't.
And I do it, and I enjoy it, and then I hate it, but I enjoy it. But, I mean, you got to sit there and have a conversation with a barrel-aged beer, especially when you know it's going to be you in that bottle. You got to sit there and talk to it and tell it, hey, go easy on me.
Take care of me. Yeah.
I thought we were friends. Let's be friends. Don't hurt me like you did last year. Of course, I've had to learn how to drink barrel-aged beers. You don't drink them like you drink an IPA.
Yeah, I would hope so, yeah. Because
when it smacks you really hard. And there's nothing you can do. It's all downhill from there.
No.
But I enjoy bourbon and I enjoy good beer. And when you can put both those flavor profiles in one glass, I mean, I am here for it.
I feel like Nashville's the place for that, too.
There's a lot of barrel-aged beer here. Nashville Barrel, I don't know if you know where that is. It's right down the street down there. They age a lot of beer down there. And they don't sell it in the store, but they do the barrel aging for the breweries in Nashville. Not all of them, but several of them. And they do some great work down there. They do great work with the beer and the bourbon. That's a whole nother thing. But they do really good work down there. Very informative, very nice people. Yeah. Dog-friendly environment. It's a cool spot down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you...
I'll have to check it out.
The problem is it's all straight from the barrel, so it's barrel proof. It's 110, 112. I mean, it's no joke. It's no joke, but
someone else to drive there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Their tasting room is awesome. They have barrels on the wall, and you literally get it straight from the barrel.
Yeah. And
they got bottles. You can create your own label. I mean, it's an experience. It definitely is.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm headed there at maybe next weekend when my training isn't so crazy.
Right. Well, how do you balance the training for the marathon and for the Ironman along with the songwriting and the creativity that may hit you in the middle of a workout? How do you, I mean, when a song just jumps in your head and you're in the middle of your set, what do you do at that point?
Oh gosh, if that happens, I'm texting something on my notes app where all of my songs are, or I'm recording an audio little like voice note of that. Thankfully, I haven't had too many crazy song ideas biking because I'm usually a little dissociated just trying to make it through. But yeah, anytime. I work from home, thankfully, so my day job, it's easy to kind of, when something hits, I'm able to kind of take a break and write that song. My colleagues, my coworkers, they all know I'm a musician, so that's part of why I have a remote job. But yeah, no, it's tough. It really sucks when you have that one idea you love and you've thought it over on a bike ride or in the car or wherever, and you're like racing to find a way to record it and it just leaves. That's my biggest pet peeve sometimes with doing so much and trying to find space for music. But like I said, there's so many ideas. If not that, you're going to have something better.
Well, speaking of being in the car, do you listen to the radio while you're driving?
I don't listen to radio so much anymore as I do like podcasts.
Or do you listen to music while you drive?
Yep.
What type of music do you listen to?
Everything. It just depends on what mood I'm in. If I'm, like windows down, feeling really upbeat, I'm putting on like Stevie Wonder. If I'm like feeling really in my feelings and, sad about something, I'm having like a Donovan Woods playing. If I'm like in the musical mood, but I love musicals, like Sarah Bareilles in Waitress was fantastic. I'm listening to my friends play their music. I'm catching up on who's released what and what's streaming now. I'm also big into podcasts and, random science things and storytelling and stuff. So it's a whole mix. I mean, music is just, that's how it's amazing. It can meet you where you're at, kind of like wherever in terms of the mood that you're in. So, I love moments where I get to discover new stuff. So I'll have things on just shuffle play and discovering new playlists. But yeah, really a bit of everything. So it's hard to pick just one or two.
I enjoy doing the same thing. I'll find an artist that I enjoy and I'll go to that artist or that song radio.
Yeah.
Or I'll go to that artist and they have created a playlist based on that artist. Mm-hmm. So you get a little bit more diverse music because that artist may have a couple of different styles. Mm-hmm. Where if you go to song radio, it seems like the algorithm really focuses on that one song. But I have found so many of my new favorite artists that way. Yeah. I mean, people who are indie artists elsewhere outside of Nashville, maybe in New York, maybe in LA, Chicago, Austin. Yeah. Just people who are indie artists or local artists in those places. And they can sell out small venues in wherever they're at. And I mean, they're a staple in the indie scene there. But here in Nashville, they're not here. Mm-hmm. But then it opens up a whole new world for me. Yeah. With new artists, and they approach music with their own style. Maybe you have, there's people say there's no such thing as outlaw country anymore. Well, there is. And there are artists out there that do it. Maybe they're not mainstream, but they're there. You should find them if you like country music.
Yeah.
And you see a whole new style of writing compared to the original outlaw country.
Yeah.
And that, again, I can just sit there and next thing I know, I've been listening to, I wanted to go to bed 4 hours ago,
Right.
but I have a few more beers in the fridge and they keep coming up with these unbelievable songs and these new artists. And I'm over here screenshotting stuff and writing notes. And I'm like, I'm going to check this guy out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And golly, it turns into a thing. And I love it, but I hate it, but I love it. So,
oh yeah. I love listening to what my friends, like hearing what my friends are really excited about. Like they'll be like, I have a co-writer in Ohio. He sent me Medium Build pretty early on in the Medium Build's career. But loved that stuff. Loved like the blend of kind of synthetic electronic sounds with natural sounds and his style of songwriting. You know, it's so fun to get exposed to things that you wouldn't have listened to before, either from those, any kind of shuffling or radio kind of discover algorithm. But also just, you know, people with social media now, like all of my friends, so many of my friends are musicians on there and they're always posting new stuff. I mean, I get excited too when my friends or people I know or I've played with and writes release stuff that is just that good music that I would listen to even when I'm not trying to be supportive and being a friend and streaming the music, but just music I've discovered and say like, oh, this would be on repeat in my car for like a 5-hour drive, you know? That's always fun. And being here, you're just, it's constantly in your face. There's no shortage of good stuff.
Well, have you found any sounds when you listen to these shuffle playlists or other artists, friends of yours that may like a different art? Have you ever discovered a sound that you would like to incorporate into your own music? And if you found that, how difficult is it to incorporate such a unique sound to your way of writing?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think like that's a good question. People like, let's think. Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, Medium Build. I think Medium Build does a great job of building out, like having lyrics be first, but building out like a good mix of both acoustic and electronic or synthetic sounds.
Yeah.
That's definitely been an inspiration. Ryan Beatty, I think it's Beatty. He is really, really good at like emotional, dramatic moments and the production that fits into those places.
Yeah.
That like either accents or rounds out moments. And I like those, especially people like that who have done that nice blend. I think in my current production process, I've tried to work with my producer to figure out ways that, you know, it's not just playing acoustic guitar into a microphone and singing, but it's also like, or getting my guitarist to play, but it's also, you know, coming up with weird sounds that just fit the mood, or, you know, using the keyboard to create different kind of ambient sounds that are unique, or using the production to make things more dry in certain places or more echoey in others. I've tried to find a good mix of natural sounds and non, you know, stuff that's engineered. I think it's really cool.
So you're open to these new instruments or a different style of production than maybe what you thought that song would be when you wrote it down. you're open to slightly different interpretation of your song.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, Maddie Diaz does a really great job of, it's her voice and it's the acoustic sound, and a lot of it is that. And I think when I first started, I thought that was more of the direction I would take. But as I listened to a bunch of different artists, and, there are TikTok artists that are not even super famous, but they just are brilliant artists. And I get them on my For You page and in my algorithm because my algorithm knows I love music. So I'll get exposure to new ideas or ways of thinking about the sounds. And it's hard because you want to include everything at once, but it's rewarding and exciting to be able to parse through, what new things have you learned? What do you want to incorporate? And what actually accents the music in the right way? I'm very open to things being different than I expected, because I think sometimes it can be better. Yeah.
The grass is always greener.
Oh, that too. That's hard. Yeah. I mean, that's always like, you listen to some song that someone plays and it's like, yeah, that would have been a great sound for this part of my song here. But yeah, you live and you learn, and you get to adapt and try something new next time.
Well, do you ever feel overwhelmed when you find these new artists that are doing something different? Maybe they have a different synth or a different instrument, or they're bringing some kind of crazy instrument from some far off country, but it works in their song. Do you feel overwhelmed writing a song, especially for the pop project, because that can incorporate so much?
Yeah.
Do you ever feel maybe I should just step back and stop thinking about all these other things and focus more on, this one thing, instead of your mind just being all over the place and having so many different ideas? Do you feel overwhelmed by the potential of what a song could be?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like the kid in a candy shop metaphor. There's so many things that you could use, or so many avenues you could take. But that's really exciting. It's cool that we have all of this technology now. I had a friend of mine who was actually did a grad program where he was developing different instruments in he was like coding them, and I don't even know how that works, but you're like creating plugins of how certain things sound that you can then use the keyboard to play that sound. And he was doing a bunch of engineering in that space. So there's stuff coming out all the time, and there are new sounds, and I think it does feel overwhelming, and you do have to narrow it down and be like, shut out some of the noise. But kind of what I love to do is build things out and build them up and try new things, and then really strip things back. Like, I've discovered that in the last 2 songs for my personal project, I have built it way up, and I'm like, this song needs to be focused on the lyrics and stuff and instrumental, or like it needs to follow the story. And so then I strip everything back to the things that are really essential and matter the most, and the sounds that stick out and add. For the pop project, it's just, it's fun. It is about experimenting. So it's more like, what is new and what is different, and what can we do to make this feel like music you want to dance to or be excited about or be driving in the car. So there is some of that, but it's, it's exciting. There's a lot out there. You got to focus at some point, but you don't need to start out by limiting your options.
Well, it seems like with pop music, at least my interpretation is that, for example, John Mayer, when I was first exposed to John Mayer years and years and years ago, it seemed like it was his songs were clear.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that was vocals were on point, acoustic guitar was on point, drums were on point, everything was crisp.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a song that, you know, a garage band could easily reproduce because it was easy to, everything was just, it was stripped down and beautiful.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed, I went out and bought that CD. I really enjoyed every single song on it.
Yeah.
And I was pumped when I heard he's coming out with a new CD. Very cool. I'm ready for it to be released. Mm-hmm. Well, here's the first single off that CD. And I was like, whoa. There's a whole lot going on in this song. Well, maybe it's just that song. And then I listened to the next one. Then I bought the CD when it came out, and I was like, oh, this is
different. Yeah.
There is so much going on in here, and it is not crisp. It is not clear. But I am not saying that anything bad about John Mayer or his music. Yeah. I'm just saying that it seemed like stuff started getting in what I call overproduced. It's like they were, oh, we can add this in here and it sounds good. Right. Well, it does sound good, but kind of seems like you're moving away from what the song was really about. And I'm a fan of creativity in music, but I also don't want so. Here's the way I look at music. When this artist is on stage, are there musicians on that stage that can reproduce every single sound in this song?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if there's, you know, a part in the song where somebody's listening to an answering machine or you hear a phone ringing and they're just stuff like that. But there was a band, I can't think of the name of the band off the top of my head, but they played a chainsaw in their songs. I went to see a different artist and they were opening for that artist.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, how they going to do this? Dude whips out a chainsaw on stage without the chain. But it was a 2-stroke chainsaw. Right. No, it was a legit, real chainsaw.
Yeah.
And he played it just like it was in the song.
That's dedication.
And I was like, I liked you guys. Now I love you guys.
Respected.
You legitimately whipped out a chainsaw on stage and freaking nailed it. And I'm a stupid fan now.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think you could do it. Any band that just plays these weird notes or has all this going on, if they can reproduce the exact same song on stage, I enjoy that. You know,
are you a lyric first or like music first when you listen? Do you think you have a preference on that stuff?
It depends on the genre, to be honest with you. I kind of like with the alt rock scene right now. I kind of like where it seems like you might get a little metal and then you might get a little, I'm not going to say rap, but you have, for example, 311.
Yeah.
I really enjoy 311. I enjoy what I call college pop. Mm-hmm. Because I really started enjoying 311 when I was in college, because I had a buddy that was he was Dave Matthews and 311 and Fish, and there were no other bands besides them. So I would 311 was pounded and Dave Matthews was pounded into my head. And then when I was able to interact with Dave Matthews and saw how much of an artist and a down-to-earth person he was.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was about everything you hear on the CD we can produce on stage exactly.
Yeah.
I just became a super fan. And 311 can do the same thing.
Yeah.
And they have kind of the hip hop, I call it college rock. So hip hop and college rock.
Yeah.
So, but they blend it and make it work. And now you got some of these hard rock / metal bands that'll have a little hip hop flow here and there in their song and make it work. I like that.
Yeah.
Because I can see those two genres mixing and working, and it's a new level of writing for, say, a metal song. If you got to have these hip hop lines in there, because you have to deliver them a different way.
Yeah.
So the guitar and the drums have to play different, but you still make it work with your genre. Now that I enjoy, because I can see that band reproducing that exact same song on stage.
Yeah.
And that's why I love music. And I don't listen to one style of music. I listen to everything. And if you, let a playlist go long enough, it will completely change.
Deviate.
I mean, just go way out left field over here. Let it play 3 or 4 songs. It's like, nope. I got to bring you back. You've gotten off the chain. I got to bring you back.
Yeah. But no, I agree with you. I think sometimes, it goes to the whole, like, say what you mean sometimes is like I think people sometimes get so in their head about how the production sounds and want to add all of these things that they feel like are going to be very impressive. And if it doesn't speak to the song, if it doesn't support what you're really trying to get across, it can be really like that overproduced feeling comes in. It's like you didn't add, they're not reasons for all of these things. They just sounded cool. I'm not saying that's a bad way to go about it if you're having fun. But I do think that, like, another piece of advice, like, you don't need all of the crazy stuff to make a good song. Like, you can have, like, sometimes letting the space speak, sometimes letting the lack of certain things speak can be more beneficial to a song than otherwise.
So a good basic song with a couple of accoutrements is a good pop song.
I mean, it depends on the genre, it depends on your audience and what you want out of that song. But, the Spacey stuff has frills and fun things, and, we were just trying new things and how to blast with it. But I still don't feel like we tried to overcompensate for the song. It was, the things that we did with music. It added to what the general feeling of what we were trying to get across in those pieces.
In the new project, are there any instruments in the music or any sounds in the music from your producer that maybe you kind of at first were like, whoa, I'm not sure about that, but you listen to it a few times and then approach it with an open mind and say, you know what?
Yeah.
I like it. I didn't see it, but I see it now.
I think the next song that I am going to release from the project, called Only You, it has a lot of those, it's very like, it feels like you're in a huge echoey hall in some parts. And I didn't know how that would play out in the pop side of things, but it was honestly, it sounds really cool. It's different. It's different than the first song. The first song is, so hard. It's like the windows are down. You feel like a spring breeze hits you in the first chorus. Like, it's, even though it's about, feeling deep things, it's still like a play on just the chorus is like, I don't want to feel things so hard. It's very simple. Like, I don't want to, I am a lover girl and I get too invested and I just wish I didn't feel things so hard. It's like, say what you mean, to a T. And the second song is it's very dramatic and big and almost like it should be in a movie. And I didn't know if that would fit the direction, but it's fun, and it fits with all three of the songs that are coming out on this, in this round of Spacey. That it just fits. It's cool. It's different, but it's fun.
Do you feel like your next project could be similar to the pop project?
Well, I'll probably continue the pop project. It's going to be more, Winter Wilson and, Spacey will be a collaborative avenue for pop music. But yeah, I'm releasing a personal song, an artist song under Winter Wilson. That's going to be coming out probably in fall, I'm thinking. And it'll definitely use some of those. I've learned a lot from that process and taken away things that I then implement in my own sound, in my artist sound, because I love the blend of different sounds, and learning what a very focused pop producer does in pop music. It lets me take a few things away and then pull that in and say, honestly, this might work really well to accent this part of my own song. It's just I get to learn from the people around me and influence it. But my next goal after releasing the Spacey stuff this round, and there will be more, is to come back to my personal artist stuff and keep releasing as Winter Wilson and getting my name out there.
How many songs do you, I'm not going to say have completed, but how many projects, individual projects, do you have either in the works or completed for the pop portion?
3 songs right now are coming out in a small EP. So it's we just released the first one, and then I'm gonna release the next 2 in the next couple of months, and kind of pull that together and see what's next for that project, depending on how people like that music.
But you can see more songs easily.
Oh yeah.
In the future for that genre.
Yeah. I mean, I was doing this thing on TikTok where I would ask people to give me a story and I'd write them a song. And I realized through that process, I would do it once a day. Someone would tell me their breakup story. And for a period of time, I was just turning those songs around based on the 1 or 2 sentences they gave me. And I realized I love songwriting so much. I also can write very quickly, and I can come up with ideas, and my flow state is in those moments where I'm writing new music. And it kind of lends well to pop music because it's stuff that it comes very naturally to me to write stuff that's not, I'm not in this very moody, deep space necessarily when I write it. I'm having fun, and it's an exciting, light, creative outlet. It still has meaning, and the lyrics still are, I try to tell stories with that. But we're writing about, this first song we released, it's it's kind of just, it's funny almost. It's this, I'm talking about being in a situationship, and this guy doesn't care at all about me, and I am head over heels trying to get over someone who could not give crap about me. So it's fun. It's different stuff. But I write it, it comes quickly, more quick than my own stuff. But I love them for different reasons. It's fun. It's exciting. It's an experiment. And my own stuff is much more thought through, I think, in terms of, the deep and personal stories I want to tell. I don't think it means that Spacey's any less important or exciting or good in terms of music, but it's, it's pop. It's not trying to be, it's not trying to make you cry.
Right.
It's, yeah.
Well, how many songs have you written for other people, circling back to you asked social media to send you something and you quick turn around, write a song for them. How many songs have you written like that for other people?
On TikTok, on social media, I did it for a while. I think I maybe did like 30 songs over the course of however many, couple of weeks. And I've done like little spurts of it here and there. I love co-writing though in Nashville with the songwriters around me. I do that as well.
But you did those 30 songs by yourself.
Yeah, someone would give me a 2-sentence spiel about a breakup. It's like it doesn't even capture enough of it, but it's enough to spark an idea. And I found that writing about other people's stories, it's something I sat down and in 30 minutes I was able to write something, a piece of a song. So it's like a hook or a couple of verses or something that would try to capture that little moment, and then getting to hear, what people think about it and how they feel. And that was a lot of fun. I really feel like songwriting is my thing. Yeah.
Are those songs out there?
They're on social media, pieces of them, but no, none of it's produced. I might go back. There's some that I really loved that I think I might go back and pull from for future stuff. But
so we can say that you have at least 30 unfinished songs.
That
so
is such an understatement of the number of songs.
Well, if you wrote these songs for someone else, is your name associated with that song, or did you just say, here it is, enjoy it, and move on to the next one?
It's just on my social media. Yeah, my name is on there, but it was me trying to get into the habit of writing more and more frequently and having prompts and getting out of my comfort zone in terms of things that I was familiar with. So getting other people to share a story and then having to put myself in that person's shoes and what I would write about it, which then also does lend to those moments where you're sitting down with someone in a co-writing session and you're writing a song for them. I love that. I think the more you do it, the better you are. And I feel like that's really where I've found a lot of my strengths when it comes to writing too, is like I can write. I just love collaborating with other folks as well.
Well, on your info page on any of your social media, do you highlight the fact that you have written so many songs for other people?
Well, I think the more time I spend in Nashville and the more actual writing credits I have in terms of people who have produced the songs, I think that's really where, I started getting music out there. People started picking up and producing some things that we had co-written that felt really good. The more I do that, I feel like that's where the credit is in terms of what we've written in that room together. That person, it resonates with them and it resonates with their audience. And to me, that's a success, is that someone is excited about that piece that we've written together. So no, I think all of those things, those are the little tiny things that I've written for other people. Those are just moments that I really love to just share and have.
Well, I kind of feel like you're underselling yourself on writing.
I do a lot of it.
If someone gave you 2 sentences and you cranked out a song in 30 minutes and here you go on to the next one, there are thousands of writers out there that would love to be able to say that legitimately, but they would lie to themselves and everyone else if they said that.
Hey, if you're a writer out there and you're struggling with writing, I would love to get in the room with you and help you write music. I would like to get out of my normal circle and write with more folks, but I think the thing I've learned from that is that it's a practice thing. It wasn't always that I could sit down and write a song in 30 minutes, for example, but I love songwriting. I love songwriting. I love writing music. I love producing and playing. I love it so much that naturally I just practice it all the time. And there's the 10,000 or the It's like a certain number of hours that you have to put into something to become an expert.
I think it's 10,000.
I think 10,000 was the number.
So have you written songs for at least 10,000 hours?
I can't imagine I'm there yet. I don't know how many years that would have to be. But I've written a lot. And the more I do it, the better I feel I get. And
well, of course, practice.
Yeah.
Just like what you're doing with your Ironman training.
Yeah.
The harder you work, the better you get.
If you're struggling with songwriting and it doesn't come as naturally to you, start practicing more. Just start doing it. Stream of consciousness. It doesn't have to be a good song. Read poetry, listen to other music, find new ideas, find new prompts that can help you think of new ideas, but just practice it. I mean, we were talking about the number of songs I've ever written, and like most of those are, a lot of them I would be a little embarrassed if they saw the light of day, especially early. The more time that passes, like you like look back at those things and you go, oh my God, why did I write that? But they serve the purpose of helping you to get to where you are. Like you have to go through all that. I'll still try to write songs and I'll be like, no, this was really not good, and let it go and be like, I learned something. I tried that. And maybe I'll have prompt songs or something for like a writer's night, prompt night. I'll write like 5 songs trying to write my prompt songs. I can't figure out the prompt song, but I have other ideas that spur from there. So it's part of the process. You got to do it.
If you could sit down in a room with 4 other people, alive or dead.
Oh no.
4 other people and you in a room with the job of cranking out an album. No,
yeah.
An EP. Who would they be?
I feel like I would love to co-write with Donovan Woods and Lori McKenna. Those are just some of my favorite songwriters that I also feel like would accent, like we would have a similar style in terms of finding something good. Oh gosh, there are just so many. This is hard. I'm trying to think of people who would like be a similar genre or, mindset in terms of writing for me.
Or maybe people that you have listened to their music and it just blows you away every time because they accomplished their goal in that song. No matter what the genre, they accomplished that goal.
Yeah.
And not necessarily someone who would complement your style, but someone who could sit down with you and say, you know what, we're going to make it happen because I win every time.
Oh gosh, that even makes it harder. Like there's like the Nina Simones of the world that you just like, incredible music. I'm trying to think of like,
who are some of your favorite writers, period?
I mean, the Donovan Woods, Lori McKenna, favorite artists, favorite writers. It's so hard. My dad's one of my favorite writers.
Okay.
I learned so much from him, and honestly, that's been I think a dream of mine at some point to like get to the point where I'm like, let's co-write a song together or an album together or something.
Well, why don't you do it now?
I would like to. I've talked to him before about it, just writing songs together, just getting in the room. My parents are kind of splitting their time between Ohio and Washington State, so they're out on the West Coast a lot. But yeah, that's a goal of mine, is to do that with him. He taught me a lot about what I know about songwriting, and both of my parents have had just this unwavering belief that I will do well in whatever I do. And that.
Do you believe it?
I think when you love something as much as I love music, and the things that I do in general, I think, yeah, you find it might not look like success might not look like what you thought it would be, but I already feel successful. I mean, I feel so lucky even to have one song released. One song. And looking back at when I was this socially awkward, quiet, hated how I looked, 7th grader who picked up a red guitar and started writing and learning how to play guitar. I mean, I think that kid would be like, oh my gosh, you're a star, like having one song out. And that's nothing to a lot of people, but it's everything to me, I think. I to be able to live in Nashville, to be able to write with other people, to be able to release music, to be excited about the music I'm releasing. I mean, it's pretty awesome to get that look in my my parents' face and my dad's face when I get to show them these songs. I mean, yeah, it's more than I could ask for.
What's success for you? What's the top of the mountain?
I don't have a huge desire to be like A-list celebrity, super famous, everyone knows my face. I would love to have the ability to travel and play my music, to release music, to have a community of people who really love my songwriting, to be known for good songwriting. I love the ability, and fame sometimes is what helps this, but I think I would really love the ability to co-write with like some of my idols, and to be in a room with new people and to help write music both for myself and them. So it doesn't necessarily, it's just more about being able to widen the reach of what I am doing now, to take things on the road, to release more, to have something that's sustainable and allows me to collaborate wider.
So if the pop project pops off and becomes bigger than what you expected, would you lean in more on the pop side, or would you split your time between what you're doing currently and what you have out as Winter Wilson, or would you really devote all your free time to the pop side?
I mean, my personal stuff is doing pretty well right now for what I expected. So I'm really excited about that. I mean, that's my passion. The pop stuff, sure, yeah. I mean, if it turned into something bigger, it's, again, I'm young. I don't have things tying me down right now. Like, I would be grateful for any opportunity that came along to make the pop project or my own stuff into something bigger than it is right now. It would be a new experience. I mean, it would be fun to try. I mean, imagine if it was big enough that you could do big tours and you could travel the world, and sure, absolutely. I think would be a new thing that I would be excited about. I'm not opposed to any of that, for sure. I'd be excited either way.
So are you a songwriter or an entertainer?
I am a songwriter first, but I think you have to be an entertainer in a lot of ways to be an artist. So yeah, both, but songwriter, I like to say I'm like lyrically driven, songwriter focused artist.
All right, somebody holds a gun to your head and says you can do one of 2 or 3 things. You can write songs only.
Yeah.
You can entertain only, or you can go on these giant tours and sing in front of hundreds of thousands of people, and they would call you a pop star. But you can only do one of those 3 things.
What would the entertainer part be?
Someone who is singing, you're up on stage at one of these small venues, or even a medium size or a big venue. They hand you a guitar and they say, entertain these people for an hour. do some covers, do some original work, but you can't have an idea and run over to a scratch pad and write it down real quick. You don't get to do that anymore. You only get to play songs that are given to you and songs that you already have.
Okay.
You don't get to write anymore.
I would have to be a songwriter and probably travel the world with my pop project. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it seems like you have devoted this entire, at least 2 hours so far, to really driving home songwriting. And it seems like you light up the more you talk about songwriting than anything else. So you're a songwriter first.
It's hard to say first, but I mean, I think that's one of the more important parts of my music. One of the most important parts, yeah.
Okay. I had another question, but your answer threw me off.
No, I mean, I can say, songwriter first. I think it implies that, it's not about playing it out, but to me, part of what's so special about the songwriting is that I would get to share it with people.
Well, if you write so many songs, have you written any either short stories, poems, or I'm not going to say novels, but longer stories? Is any of that, I'm not going to say out there,
yeah,
but do you have any of that sitting around that you haven't shared with your fans or with the world?
I was, I got a journalism degree for undergrad. I was a storyteller, a news storyteller. I wrote lots of feature articles. I produced a documentary too at one point.
Can we find any of this?
Yeah, the documentary is about some environmental injustice in Southeast Ohio. There's a bunch of fracking waste down there that's being dumped in the backyards of my community. It's called it's on YouTube, and it's called Injection and Outrage. It follows a local activist. So it's a storytelling documentary about that.
So if I go to Winter Wilson Music,
it's not on there. It would just be Winter Wilson, but you would look up Injection and Outrage Winter Wilson.
I'm going to ask why is it not there?
Because I'm no longer a documentarian. I haven't done more of it. So to me, keeping that separate is my environmental activism and passion about climate and sustainability and stuff. It definitely influences the writing I do, but it was quite a while ago. And it was on a page that, back when I was a journalism student, that was what I was doing.
Okay. All right. Do you do any other art?
Yeah, I was going to say I had the best English teachers in the world in high school. I was Miss Hall, Miss Shaw, shout out to both of them. I had great English classes. I wrote lots of poetry. I wrote some short stories, but mainly poetry. I did poetry out loud when I was younger. That was like a poetry competition where you recited poems. I love, all kinds of art. I loved like painting and mixed media and things like that. I don't do as much of it. I love interior decorating and things like that. I'm always like, I love it.
My house is a project for your interior design.
I'll have to figure out my rates. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, do you have, I mean, you're an artist through and through.
Mm-hmm.
You do more than just music.
Yeah.
So do you have any merch out there with your logo or your art, or do you have any links to your short stories, or are your short stories or your poems anywhere where your fans can find them?
Not yet. I mean, a lot of them is my music now. I mean, that's my poetry now. It'd be cool to look back through this was high school and middle school. So it'd be cool to go back and see if I could find some poems and incorporate them into some of those things.
Well, couldn't you release a poem every day on Instagram?
I could. That would make me nervous, but maybe that's a good thing to try.
I mean, every day. Like either you're putting a poem up or a short of a music video or a short of someone holding a phone filming you in the studio. Just could you post on Instagram 7 days a week?
I post on TikTok 7 days a week right now. I'm doing Instagram not as much, but I did it once a day for a couple months for my first song that I released. So that's the goal. Yeah.
Well, if you got all these poems already written,
maybe I could do some of that. Yeah.
I mean, you could read the poem out loud.
Yeah.
And make that a YouTube short.
Sure.
Or a TikTok or an Instagram reel.
Mm-hmm.
And just maybe have a picture of the poem up to where if I'm not listening, I could at least read it.
Yeah.
Don't you think that would inspire more people to follow you because they would see you as an art? I'm not going to say as an artist, but an artist with more talent than just music.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that's, I don't do as much non-musical poetry anymore, but I'm not opposed to that at all. I mean, that's maybe something to try next.
Well, why don't you do a couple of merch shirts at a show that just randomly have a poem on the back?
Yeah, merch is my next thing. I haven't done it yet, but I'm starting to design stuff.
I got a guy that can get it, and we can talk about this off air, but okay. I got a guy that can probably do he can do a really good job and at a good rate, rate.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good dude. He's working on some stuff for me right now. I'm telling you.
Okay.
We need...
You're going to have merch for the podcast?
Yes.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I think merch, and I've told this story before, I've gone to these small venues to watch artists, and I've gone back to merch tables, and there have been 4 artists on the bill. Only one of them has merch on the table, and there was no one there to take the money when I wanted the t-shirt or the CD or the sticker.
Yeah, that happens.
And
just have everything.
It just, it kind of, I thought to myself, you're not, where you're up there, you're working right now. Mm-hmm. How are you making any money for the work you're putting in right now? You have merch back here on this table. Well, if there's no one back there to accept the money or to even tell me what the price is.
Yeah.
I know what the prices run on stuff, and generally. So when someone finally came up, I gave them cash for what I bought. And it seemed like, oh, okay, thanks. But how's the artist making money? Why are they here?
It can be hard. I think as an independent artist, when you don't have a team, it's hard to, especially in Nashville, you're barely, I don't know anyone. I mean, I shouldn't say that anyone, but I very much envy anyone who is even breaking even on their shows. I mean, right. You're hiring your band, you're hiring a photographer, a videographer, you're paying the whatever, production fee that venue has. It's a lot. So, to hire someone then to staff your merch table. I mean, like all of those things kind of add up, and it's a lot in Nashville when everyone's so competitive over opportunities. There's way less in terms of the amount of money you're going to make on,
Well, talk to us about what it takes to put on a show at one of these small venues as an indie artist.
Yeah, I haven't done full band stuff yet. I would really like to, but I have done, a trio, or I bring my guitarist on stage and she plays with me. By the way, going to shout out Margot Beaver's band, Together Breakfast. Very, very good. All instrumental. I should shout them out because she's been the most supportive, wonderful guitarist to me. But yeah, so when you're planning something like that, obviously first you need to inspire confidence in the person who's booking you. So, I've played some of the shows like New Faces at the Basement. I played with the Pin Drop Songwriters. That's a great songwriting community at the Basement. And those shows, I mean, you're getting there, you're doing sound check. Most of everything is already set up. But you do pay a production fee. I play a lot at Bowery Vault 2. Love the sound there. But you're dealing with some ticket sales, and usually you're not making more than you're paying. Even when it's just a duo, like I pay my guitarist, and just by the nature of how big the events are, or if there's 2 artists on the bill or something, sometimes that's all you're making is enough to pay your band. So yeah, you're doing that. You're doing tickets, you're doing pre-sale, and then at the door, you're splitting the bill or being just you, sound checks, things like that. Figuring out how to capture the event. So if you're using a photographer or videographer or something like that, I do a lot of that myself. But and then you're kind of tasked with pulling everyone in. I mean, it's the venues don't have a whole lot of incentive to do any of the outreach for you, because in this space where the supply and demand is like, there's so much supply and there are only a certain number of venues, it's really hard I love the people who work at these venues, don't get me wrong, but it can be really hard because you'll get invited somewhere, for example, and then you'll also be tasked with bringing everyone. And so if I'm an indie artist in Nashville and all my friends are musicians, it's hard to continue to make that request out of the people who live here, who are musicians, who are going to spend $15 to come see you. So it's like building your audience, getting people to the door, and not having a whole lot of support with any of that, because you should feel lucky that you got to play at this one space to begin with. So you're trying to impress them at the same time. And you're doing that so much of the promotion by yourself. So that's one thing that I've definitely noticed here. Whereas in other cities that I've played, I'm bringing people in to show up and to advertise and to take that responsibility. But also the places I play have done such a good job at engaging with the community and getting people out and to come to these shows to see new people. So it's definitely a different game here. It's, you carry a lot as the artist, both in terms of making sure everyone else gets paid. You almost never do. And also making sure everyone shows up. I don't want to complain. It's still wonderful. I'm lucky to do it. But it is a challenge.
It's a job. To book a show for just you, or to book a show with you and 2 other bands, that's a job. That's a commitment. And a lot of people out there don't realize what indie artists go through, because they see in the movies and on these TV shows, these artists have this person that takes care of all this and does this. But people in Nashville, indie artists, understand just one show that may have 15, 20 people show up and there are 3-4 bands on the bill.
Yeah.
The business part of that show is somewhat terrifying.
Oh, more often than not, I'm also getting invited to shows where nothing pays. There's no tickets. There's no, you get paid, nothing. It's totally reliant on, maybe there's a tip jar. And to me, that sometimes feels like a problem with, who's going to be able to even compete at all in the space of like people who don't have the resources, who aren't lucky to have like a full-time day job that can support, buying a new guitar and playing free shows and hiring the band for those free shows. Like that to me is just like, and there's such a gap in terms of, the amount of resources you need to actually take full advantage of the opportunities here, because, you should be paid by being an artist, by showing up, by doing those things. And, there's not a need to do that because there's so many people who would jump at that same opportunity if you don't.
Well, music is a business, and
yeah,
there's more business than music in the music business.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that. And a lot of people that make that move to Nashville like you did on a whim, or they say, you know what, I know I can make it because I feel it, I believe it. And the people in my town or my area say, man, I know you can do it because you show up to this bar once a week and everybody here is on our dance floor. And, people have big dreams and they watch these shows and these movies, and then they get smacked in the face when they get here. It's like, you want to play this bar over here that can, maybe 20, 30 people at best.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to come with this, and you got to do the work and then pay us for the privilege of being here.
Yeah.
And people probably just get so overwhelmed that they start pulling back.
Oh, and it changes your entire perspective and relationship to your music when you don't have the day job and you're just trying to stay afloat. Like so many just badass artist friends of mine are juggling multiple service jobs just to be able to kind of support having a career in music, because that music career isn't profitable unless XYZ happens and they have, a certain number of tours or whatnot. I mean, it's just become really, really difficult to pursue avenues where you're actually making a living doing music. It's a very, very impressive thing to be able to do that. And I think a lot of people understate that or think, oh, like they're not doing that well. But if you're doing music full time and you don't have another job, that to me is crazy. That's success in a lot of ways. It's a challenge. And I think that's one thing about Nashville that I would love to find ways that we can do better to support the artists who come here and who are pursuing the things they're really passionate about, and simply or the people who would want to come but don't have the means. I mean, that's the thing about Ray, we're talking about learning and getting exposure to new ideas and collaborating and co-writing. You can't learn things unless there are more people to learn from, and people who have different life experiences and backgrounds and styles of music. I mean, we want that to be Nashville. That should be what this place is about. But it can be difficult to break into, and there could be a lot of, gatekeeping around opportunities. And, the best we can do as artists is to uplift other artists. And that's one thing I love about this place is the people around me in my community. I mean, from the moment I stepped foot in Nashville, it's the other artists that have said, yeah, let's collaborate. I don't know you and I've done really well, but I'd love to take a chance on getting in a room with you and writing. I think that could be really powerful. So I've been grateful for that.
How would you fix that problem that you just talked about? If you had endless amount of money, how would you fix that problem? You've
if I
thought
had
about
endless amount of money.
Yeah, you've thought about it. So tell us how you would fix it.
I mean, I think I'm not the person I'm sure there are people out there who have studied this and done, built models for this. I mean, you had all the actors out in LA talk about unionizing and being treated and paid fairly. I wish there was some kind
As they should.
Yeah, I wish there was a better avenue for artists in Nashville to not have to take a free, almost like a full-time job for free just because someone's promised them exposure. I wish that there were better avenues. So, I mean, if I had infinite money, I would just, provide grants, provide more funding that aren't tied to, like expectations. It's giving the artist space to create what they came here to create and not have to worry about everything else.
Do you think you could start a nonprofit to help in that way?
I wish I could come with names because there already are a lot of nonprofits who do really good work here, giving grants to musicians. I've heard, anything from helping with a project to providing services for mental health and going to therapy for artists. So I would, there are great groups out there working. Maybe a good call to action for the people listening is like, if you do have the means, if you are in Nashville and you have the means, donating to those places that help other artists. I mean, that's one way that we as a community can do better with supporting other folks. And also don't be afraid, like the artists do GoFundMes. I know a lot of friends who have done that.
Yeah.
Like find ways, mutual aid is very, very effective. Just giving the artists in your life a leg up if you have the means to do so. Finding ways that you can support them, coming to their show and buying tickets is a huge one. That's great. And really getting out there. But yeah, I mean, I wish there were better structures in place to make sure artists didn't get taken advantage of when they don't have you don't have the money to say no. Like that's sometimes what it is. Yeah.
Well, I guess honestly, if you're an indie artist and you're trying to get out there and someone says, look, I need you to play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from this time to this time, I'm not going to pay you, but there will be so many people in this venue.
Yeah. We all do that. I mean, we all do that. Exposure is a wonderful thing. I feel like, though, having a job and being self-sufficient in that way and not having to rely on music as my primary source of income, I think that gives me a different lens through which I view those things of like, I try not to take, outside of Nashville especially, I try not to take unpaid jobs just because one thing I can do is stand up and say, hey, it doesn't matter what it is, a bar tab, or I'm doing it for a charity, maybe, or you are paying me in some way. I need you to like up the level of commitment you have to the other artists. And I can't play just a free show for the sake of it. That's going to, make you money as a business when you already have enough to be able to pay the artists who play. But in Nashville, that's more difficult. I mean, I definitely take more opportunities because it's incredible that you have, being at a writer's round is one thing. You do those because you love it. You get to connect with a bunch of people. The people who put them on are awesome, really respect you in a lot of other ways.
So the exposure at a writer's round is worth the time and effort.
Yeah, there are so many things too. There are shows still that don't pay that are worth the time and effort.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you do that. There's lots of moments where exposure is just like what you do. But I do think the standard needs to be raised in some ways to be able to, you shouldn't come here and you shouldn't have to be a starving artist, right? You should be able to, feed yourself and, have the space where you're not taken all sorts of cover gigs if you don't want to be able to support you writing the music that's important to you. And I would love to see more of that be an opportunity for artists.
What are your thoughts on house parties?
Those are fun. I love, like, I haven't played as many house parties, but I go to a lot of my friends' house party bands and gigs. Blast.
Why am I just finding out about this? Golly, it's like the indie underground.
Yeah, no, I know people who tour and play at people's houses on college campuses, for example.
So they tour house party.
Yeah, it can be a good gig.
It's a thing that I didn't know about in the music industry in Nashville.
I run a songwriting circle out of my house. Every month I have a prompt and all the artists bring a song written for the prompt and then another song that's just brand new that they want to share. And we just share the songs. That's not like you're doing a band and you're asking people to come to the show. But I do know a lot of friends who have done full band shows at house parties and they do well with it.
So if I come to your house, do I have to knock 3 times, wait, and then knock one more time?
Super secret society that I probably can't talk too much about.
Right, and you got the little thing in your door.
Yeah.
Like
password and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. You as a single artist with your guitar at a house party, do you ever get blown out from the noise of everyone there?
I don't do as many house party things. I've done a few that are like quieter little house shows. And when you're in a space in a community like Nashville where there are lots of artists around, you'd be surprised. Like, it could be quiet, it could be dead silent, and you could be playing in a house party where people are drinking and having fun. And then all of a sudden everyone's paying attention to the music, which is something I think that's unique. But yeah, no, I've been to house parties where it's much more, either there's like a DJ that's playing their own music, or there's a really loud band and it's more about dancing and having fun. So it's just more of what, there's a little bit of that space for everyone here.
So there are people in Nashville who are DJs that can go up and do house music, trance, or what. Either way, there are people in Nashville that can go up and put on a show doing that.
Yeah.
In Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
I already knew that. But why do you think that the world doesn't realize there are people in Nashville that can do that? Other than the fact that people see Nashville as country music USA.
Right.
But Nashville is named Music City. Yeah. Music encompasses everything. Yeah. House, trance, rap, pop, hip-hop, jazz, blues, alt country, alt this, alt that. I mean, just indie anything. Music City.
Yeah.
But everyone sees it as country music city. Do you think that's fair? Especially to indie artists who are here and working their ass off.
Yeah. I don't have any problem with, there are lots of groups that are like, Nashville is more than country. And I love that people get to come down here and realize that for the first time. Like, that's exciting. Obviously, I wish more people knew. But it's in the South, and you have Broadway, and you have this long history of being country music focused. You had the whole show Nashville about country music.
I never watched it, but dear
I'm not
God, the
surprised
production
that we have this.
messed this city up.
Yeah.
But it aggravates me that people I know or people I meet that come to Nashville, they think all this city is country music.
Yeah.
Because That's what they listen to. They go to Broadway, everything on Broadway. And then people ask me, where should I go? And they start naming off bars or venues, and it's all country. And it's like, there's so much more, man. You're just not seeing it.
They need to run into the Nashville native.
And I'll put them on some of these venues, and I'm like, hey, how long are you going to be here? I'm going to be here, blah, blah, blah. Check these venues out. I don't know who's playing, but look them up. Man, go check them out. Get a ticket. You never know. And I've been to enough shows that I've seen indie bands and indie artists play, and they'll play their songs, and then the energy of the crowd and the packed room just hits them. Next thing you know, they're just on another level.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell people, look, you're not going to get this at Bridgestone. Right. You're not going to get this when you see these huge artists out there because they're already so focused on what they're doing. When you see these indie artists they need your energy to play to you, and you give it to them and they crank it back to you, and the guitarist will just, in a break, he or she will just run with it.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of looks at them like, okay, right, do your thing.
It's pretty magic, yeah.
Where is that going to happen again? Probably nowhere.
Right.
You should be there for that moment when that happens.
Oh, yeah.
Because that will change your mind about that band. Or when somebody messes up, or a drummer loses a stick, or a guitar
really authentic
string
moments.
breaks, or the bass player drops the guitar, or, it's just like,
right.
And then the rest of the band just kind of picks at them because they know we don't need to lose this. Keep rolling. Yeah. Where else are you going to get? That's a one-time deal. Oh, yeah. And I'm sure there's no one there filming it. And then they start joking on each other and jabbing at each. That's what music is.
Yeah.
To me,
are the best places for community.
Even big-time artists. I love going to the shows where in between songs, they'll jab at each other or tell a joke or tell a story, or the bass player who's playing the upright bass just lays down on his back.
Does something crazy.
And just sits there and plays the bass like he's there by himself looking up at the lights. I'm like, that's entertainment.
Yeah.
That's what I paid for there. I'm sorry, I just went off on a tangent.
No, you're right.
That's indie music, because these artists are going up there doing their very best, and things break.
Yeah.
And they haven't been taught by some manager, if a guitar string breaks, do this. Follow this, these 3 steps if these things happen. No, an indie artist or an indie band just has to freaking...
You just gotta watch that moment.
Yeah. And it's pass or fail, live or die.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen, a lot of times they might just tell a joke that sucks, but they're trying. And then they recover and they roll on.
Yeah.
You're never going to get that again.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially as it's funny to see folks early on and then later when they're doing those big arena shows, it's like, it's different. You're close to those people in those smaller venues too. You can see their faces and the facial expressions and hear the stories come across directly to you. Like, you feel like you're having this conversation with a person who's an artist on stage, and that's unique, and that's special stuff. That's what really makes it good.
But it's here in Nashville, and people outside of Nashville don't see that.
Yeah, you got the audience. You got to have your audience reach all over the world, and then redefine the Nashville experience.
But what aggravates me is that Nashville is tagged country music. Memphis is tagged blues, and Austin, from what I've heard, is tagged country/red dirt country.
Oh.
And there are so many musicians, I'm sure, indie bands, singers, songwriters in Austin who do pop, who do rock, who do alt country, who maybe do R&B country, and I mean they live the songs they sing.
Yeah.
But because these cities are labeled in these certain ways, they don't get promoted.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair to the artist, the musician, or even the city.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Nashville is labeled country music, but every other scene is here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not talked about. It's not exposed. And it's not fair to those artists.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, it's hard to break that stigma for sure.
How do you think Nashville can become music city instead of country music city?
I mean, your guess is as good as mine. You know, I think just having more of those experiences, and when folks visit me from out of state, I try to bring them to all the cool songwriter nights and things like that. It's here. And I think it's, you know, Nashville's becoming more than just country on, like, in my generation, social media. I think it means more than that. But it's just about, you know, encouraging folks who aren't from here, who only get a certain message, like when you're talking about it, and giving them advice on where to go, point to the little local spots, have them go to the basement and see a band there on a Friday night instead of out on Broadway. Just the Broadway bands are amazing too, but yeah, getting them out to see some original music, I think, is always exciting.
Okay. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
I've learned a lot, but I have 2 more questions.
Okay.
Well, 1 question, but 2 answers.
Okay.
What are 2 questions you've never been asked that you wish someone would ask you, and what are those answers?
That I've never been asked.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you one just to think on. An artist put this out there and it was so simple, but it blew my mind. How are you? How are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a tough one always. It's just, you know, there's a lot going on, especially for artists. Life is pretty complicated, and that's where the music comes from. So I know a lot of them struggle with their mental health. And yeah, I do as well. I don't know. I think, well, maybe I'll spin it slightly and be like, you know, I think people, like, I love engaging with people who connect to the music that I write. And I sometimes feel like others feel like it's a bother, or they're pestering me or something to come up and to share their stories that they feel relate to the music that I share. And those moments to me are some of the most important and special moments. And I hope that people know that, like, how big of a deal it is as an indie artist to have someone come up to you after your show and say, like, wow, like, this really resonated with me because of this, or, you know, this song was, like, made me cry or tear up, or, you know, like, those moments where you've, like, actually connected with someone are at least the reason I do what I do. And I want folks to know how much that means to me, first of all. And then in terms of questions, I don't know. I just love talking about songwriting, and sometimes I wish that I could just, the people who are excited about the songwriting I do and about the songwriting of similar artists, I wish someone would just sit down and dissect the lyrics with me and talk about what it meant to them and what it means to me and what I meant, and have that shared moment of those, like, lyrically what stood out, what's exciting, what's not, what didn't make sense.
Why don't you ask
picking apart
that
songs.
on your social media?
I should do more of that. Yeah.
Because I think the engagement will probably be a lot higher than you think.
Sure. Yeah. I got like good to-do list after this for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, anyone watching this on the when you post the clips on Instagram and stuff, if you listen to my music and you have things that stand out, or you have songs that you feel like might be really good writing that you feel like I might relate to, and send them my way. Like, those are the moments that I really love as well.
Okay. Well, if anyone wants to connect with you, to send you these lines or these thoughts for you to create a song, where do they need to go?
So, I'm everywhere. Instagram, Winter Wilson. But a lot of places, Winter Wilson Music. So I didn't get my name for everything, but Winter Wilson Music for YouTube, I think Facebook, TikTok. I'm on all streaming platforms just as Winter Wilson. And I have a website, Winter Wilson Music, where you can get links to both my personal stuff and the Spacey stuff. So it's all out there.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Two Beers with the Band, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation/interview as much as I did.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll be able to get her back once she's moved forward with the pop project, and it's out there for all of us to enjoy. I'll have a few more questions. So, all right, thank you for tuning in.